Really looking forward to Thursday. We have a fantastic candidate in Glen Thibault in Sudbury, and he's worked hard for the community. He will continue to work hard for the community, and I'm looking forward to Thursday.
Well, the Liberals in Ontario have put on a full court press in Sudbury leading up to the by-election, which of course will be Thursday, February 5th. And going into this by-election, a lot of controversy continues to hang over the heads of the Liberal Party. Rebecca Thompson is our Sun News contributor and is with me. There are so many little twists and turns that we have got to this point where the actual vote is now February 5th. So our colleague at the Toronto Sun, Christina Blizzard's been out there. She's talking to people, and one of the things that she has noted is that Glen Thibault, who of course is the NDP, former NDP MP who left Parliament Hill to now run for the Liberals, is so, in Bliz's words, some of the stunts are wearing thin in a place like Sudbury.
Well, particularly because it's such a messy affair, and there has been polling done where that indicates that people are quite cynical about the fact that the Liberals, the Ontario Liberals, have pulled what they've pulled. And what they've pulled is not out of this world, the idea of offering somebody an appointment for the sake of not running, for somebody, a superstar to run. But the fact of the matter is that it was caught on tape. Andrew Olivier, who had run as the Liberal candidate in the last election, lost narrowly. He wanted to run again. This is somebody who is a paraplegic, who has a ton of support in the community, certainly with his family, who encouraged him to run. And along comes two of top aides alongside Kathleen Wynne and Kathleen Wynne herself, who make calls to Andrew Olivier. He taped the calls. He released two of them that clearly state that there is an appointment in the hopper if he decides to step down. Well, Andrew Olivier, who's now running as an independent, who will get support from the electorate in this Sudbury riding, may not win, but he certainly could split the vote between Glen Thibault and the NDP candidate Suzanne, who the NDP, of course, have been very strong in Sudbury in the past. So we'll have to see exactly what happens. But for the very first time, I believe that Sudburyans are extremely cynical towards the Liberals for this patronage type of behavior. Yeah, absolutely. It's worth noting, of course, that in the 2014 election, the riding did go NDP, but that NDP MPP, now former, had resigned, and that's why we're in this by-election situation. But Andrew Olivier only lost by 1,000 votes. So there was an expectation, rightly or wrongly, that he was going to be the chosen candidate. Then they come in, the big Liberal poobahs come in and say, no, we want you to step aside. Another subtext to this is now this has caused the third investigation into the Liberals by the Ontario Provincial Police, because now they are investigating these phone calls that Andrew Olivier recorded. And we should note that he records them because he's paraplegic, and it's nothing nefarious. It's just he doesn't have the luxury that you and I do to write everything down, Rebecca. So I think that's worth noting. Yeah, absolutely. And another twist and turn to this was the fact that the Ontario Provincial Police originally in early January declared that they weren't going to pursue an investigation. This was the anti-rackets branch, because they didn't believe that there was anything criminally wrong with what the Liberals did. Now, this was prior to Andrew Olivier releasing the tapes. Days later, he did release these two tapes, which were abundantly clear that there were appointments on the table. And Elections Ontario said, well, we are going to certainly launch an investigation into this. And then the Ontario Provincial Police said, oh, actually, you know what, we are going to investigate this after all. Elections Ontario this week, in my understanding, is interviewing Kathleen Wynne and her staff regarding the affair. All of these are allegations, except for the fact that it was very clear on the tapes that there was an appointment that was offered. So the public, you know, for all intents and purposes, the public, and most importantly, those the electorate in Sudbury, I do believe that there were nefarious activities going on here. All right, I'm going to make a not so bold prediction that nothing will come out of either of those investigations, and I guess we'll see how things play out on Thursday. I want to move on to another issue that, of course, has a lot of people talking, and this goes back to a Toronto Star expose where they got their hands on the beer store contract that was written during the Mike Harris days and has been carried on by successive Conservative and Liberal governments, still exists to this day. Kathleen Wynne decides that, well, we're going to have a sort of a renewal process of how the beer store LCBO relationship is.
Yesterday, the Premier said, in light of this review, however, no booze will still be allowed in convenience stores. So why is she shutting the door on this?
The Ontario Liberals have long shut the door on the idea of expanding the reach of beer and liquor sales in convenience stores. This dates back a number of years ago, and I would say primarily it boils down to the fact that the LCBO maintains contracts for selling liquor at, for example, the wine rack that you see in grocery stores, that small little wine rack store, as well as those the convenience stores that do exist in rural and remote areas across Ontario. There are probably 40 or 50 of them. The LCBO has contracts with these convenience stores under the LCBO rules, and of course in terms of where the money goes, which is to the Ontario government coffers, to sell there. However, the LCBO is not interested in the idea of allowing convenience stores to operate under their own guise to to sell beer and liquor.
Now, wasn't there some suggestion that the beer store was going to now all of a sudden allow independent beer distributors to sit on their board, but so many have come out and said that's just a sham?
Yeah, well, you know, what we have are 3 foreign owners of the Ontario beer monopoly, if you will, and we have a number of small retailers in Ontario who can't seem to make a break because of the fact that they're not part of the Ontario beer monopoly. And so Kathleen Wynne has said, look, we need to make a change. There are too many hands that are tied under the current existing contract. Let's make a change here. Will the people of Ontario appreciate the changes that are made? I don't know. I believe that the changes that should be made is to open up completely the way that Alberta has, for example, and allow, or Quebec, and allow for the full competition of beer and liquor. Will we see that? No, because so much revenue goes into the Ontario government bank from the beer and liquor sales that we likely won't see a significant change, just enough of a change to put this controversy away, because it's obviously, it was media that first reported this. And Kathleen Wynne wants to obviously manage the issue.
Yeah, like so many others. All right, big thank you to Rebecca Thompson for breaking that one down for us.